In this video, we'll make a simple wave spawning system. And well, that is it. Let's get started. So hey, this is ChronoAV and this channel is here to make you just a little bit more better in game development. All the links mentioned in the video will be in the description box down below, and if you have not subscribed, then do so by clicking the subscribe button and pressing the bell icon to never miss the latest videos. So with that said, we'll make a wave spawning system in this video, and here is how we will do that. So we'll have a spawner system in which we can have multiple waves, and in each wave we can set up how many enemies we want to spawn, what kind of enemies we want to spawn, that means what type of enemies in a particular wave, and how fast we want those enemies to spawn. Maybe the first wave we want the enemies to come slowly, and then in the second wave maybe we want it to be a little bit harder or more tough and make it spawn a little bit more faster. So we will do all that, and after a wave spawning is completed, we will wait until the player kills off all the enemies. After the player kills off all the enemies, an animation will play which will just tell that wave is complete, then give the name of the next wave, then go 3, 2, 1, go, and then we will start spawning the next wave. After you finish spawning all the wave and killing all the enemies, everything is done, your game will be finished. Now, with that said, let's go to Unity and start making the script. So I have a simple scene here where we have a wave spawner, and the wave spawner has a wave spawner script. We will set this script up in this video basically, and inside the wave spawner what we have is we have some spawn point. All of these are some spawn point, and we will spawn our enemies randomly into these random spawn points. So that's why we have our random spawn point. First of all, let me show you the enemies. So these three are the enemy. This is the bullet. These three are the enemy, and all of them are in the enemy tag. All of them are in the enemy tag. After that, everything else is just normal. So let's go to our script. Make a script, alright, called wave spawner or anything, whatever you like. So let me open it up in Visual Studio. Now inside Visual Studio, first of all, what we will do is just above our main class, we will make our own custom class, and we will call it wave. And after that, write public string wave name. So WAVE and AME. The wave name, this will be the name of a certain wave, right? So for now, after just doing this, let's just call it in our main class by writing basically public or maybe serialized field. So serialized field wave, and let's just call it wave. Once I do this, let's just hit save and go back to Unity. Let it load, but as you can see, we do not see that from our inspector, right? We don't see it in the inspector, and the way we can make it see in the inspector is by just going up here and in a big bracket write system.serializable. After writing that, hit save, go back to Unity, and now you can see a wave, and we have a wave name. Now we don't want just one wave, we want multiple waves, and to have that we just need to make it a wave array. After doing that, again go back. Okay, now we have multiple waves. For this video we'll only have 3 different waves, so let's give all of them name. I'm going to give my first one wave 1, wave 2, and the last one will be called final wave. Right now these names just serve a purpose to just give this a name. If you don't keep anything here, it will say element 1, element 2, and so on, right? But if you do this, it just does this, and it looks more easy to organize. For now it works like this, but afterwards it'll have some use as well. Now we know the name of our wave, but we need to know how many enemies do I want to spawn in a certain wave. So public integer, and let's call it number of enemies. So let's set that up as well. Let's go back in Unity. Here all of them will have their own number of enemies. So let's say the first wave we will have only 3 kind of enemies. In the second wave we will have 5 different kind of enemies, and in the third wave we'll only have 1 enemy, but it will be the boss enemy. Now we want to know what different kind of enemies do we want to spawn. For that, write public game object and make it an array of game object and call it type of enemies. After that, we don't want to spawn all the enemies at once. We want to spawn them in a certain spawn interval. So here write public float and let's call it spawn interval. So after doing that, let's just set it up in Visual Studio. Now all of them will have its own different type of enemies and spawn interval. So in the type of enemies, for the first one, let's go to prefab, right? And let me just click on here and click here so that this won't go away. Now for the first one, for now, because it's for testing, right? The first one will have all the enemies. So let me just drag and drop all three types of enemies. I have two normal type of enemy and a boss. Got it? So we'll randomly pick between these three type of enemies, right? Let me just close that. And the spawn interval, let's say we will spawn one enemy after every 2 seconds for the first one. For the second one, we will only put 2. So let me just drag 2 and it will be spawned a bit faster, so with the interval of 1 second. The third one will be our boss, so only one object, and it does not need a spawn interval because we only have like one object to spawn. So after hitting that, hit save. Now down here we don't need to work on this anymore. We can even close this. That looks kind of clean. So after that, down here what we need to do is we need a serialized field, meaning public. You can write public. Let's just write public so that it'll be easy. Public here as well. Public, we need a, just like we have array of waves, right? We need an array of our spawn point. We'll randomly choose which spawn point we want to spawn the enemy in. So here write public transform and let's say spawn points. And by the way, it will be a array, so do something like this. Now if I go back into Unity, for our wave we have already set up all the waves, so let me just close this off as well. It looks more cleaner now. And in our spawn point we have it locked, so let's go to our spawn point, click on spawn point. I'm going to copy and drag and drop it until I see that cursor. You won't see it anywhere else. Once you reach that place, spawn point, you'll see a cursor be like that and leave it. You'll have all of them dragged and dropped basically. So we have that done as well. Now we want to know which wave we are in, meaning this is the like all the waves we will ever have, but we want to know every individual wave. Are we in the first wave or the second wave or maybe even in the last wave? We will not know that. So for that we need a private and let's call it wave and let's just say current wave. And we need one more thing, private integer and current wave number. Now when this is 0, we will know that it's the first wave. When this is 1, we will know that it's the second wave, and so on. This will help us know which wave we are in, right? These two basically will help us know which wave we are in. After that, in our update function, let's make another function called spawn wave. So void. And now in the spawn wave, so whenever we spawn a wave, what will happen is, first of all, we'll take a random enemy from this type of enemies, right? Then we will take a random position and then we will spawn an enemy. So first of all, let's take a random enemy from our current wave. So before that, we need to set up our current wave. So how we can do that is by writing current wave is equal to waves, and inside the big bracket, we will write current wave number. So that is going to be the current wave. Whenever this is 0, current wave will be the first wave. Whenever this is 1, current wave will be the second wave, and so on. That is how it works. After that, write game object and let's call it random enemy is equal to current wave dot type of enemy, and because even that type of enemy is an array, we need to give specific type of enemy, and that will be a random dot range, and the range starts from 0 to our current waves type of enemy dot length. Now we need to spawn enemy in the random position, so for that write transform random point, let's call it that, and that will be our spawn point, and inside the big bracket a random dot range starting from 0 and ending on spawn point dot length. After that, what we need to do is we will now instantiate our basically random enemy on a random point dot position, And for the rotation, we're not going to do anything, so quaternion.identity. Now, this should basically infinitely keep on spawning our enemies, but it will be a random enemy at a random point, basically. So if this works, we'll go to the next stage. So let's just call it. So now while we have call it, let's go back to Unity, and here, let me show you. So it will spawn basically, okay, these three, it will spawn all of these three, but randomly. So let's see if it works or not. And as you can see, we are spawning so many enemies, but randomly. Okay, after that, now we only want to spawn 3 enemies. So what we will do is, first of all, we will have a boolean called can spawn, maybe. Yeah, so let's just call it can spawn. And whenever we start the game, can spawn will be true. So down here in our spawn wave, write if we can spawn, then we will spawn these enemies. So now while can spawn is true, we will spawn these enemies, right? And every time we spawn these enemies, what will happen is current wave dot number of enemies will be minused by 1, meaning minus minus. And now if, meaning when, the number of enemies in our current wave will be equal to 0, our can spawn will be false. So basically we will be able to spawn our enemy until our current wave's number of enemies will be 0 in our first wave. So once we spawn 3 enemies, this spawning will stop. So let's see if it happens or not. As you can see, we spawned 3 enemy and it stopped. Let me show you again. 3 random enemies just here, as you can see. Now we don't want all of them to spawn at once, so we want a time interval. So for that, we need a private float, first of all, private float called next spawn time. And now here, if we can spawn, basically in here, if we can spawn and our next spawn time is actually less than time dot time. So if both of these conditions are met, then we will spawn an enemy. And after spawning every enemy, what's going to happen is we will basically give it a timer. Now how we will do that is by writing next spawn time is equal to time dot time plus our current waves spawn interval. Let's go back, click on play, and if you see now, the first enemy took 2 seconds, the second enemy takes another 2 seconds, the third enemy, and all of them get spawned in random positions, which is great. So now after doing that, we want to now start spawning the next wave. But we only want to spawn the next wave after we kill off all the enemies from the first wave. So how we are going to do that is, first of all, we need to know how many enemies are there in the first wave, right? How many enemies did we spawn? So to know that, how we can do that is by writing game object, and let's call it total enemies. After that, write game object dot find, and the find will be find game objects with tag, not game object with tag, because we want multiple different objects. So find game object with tag, let's click on all of them, and we will find those game object which has the tag called enemy. Right now it's saying something is wrong. The reason why is this has to be an array for that to work. So now it will take in all the list of the enemies that have been spawned first of all and are in the enemy tag. So this will just keep a track of all those enemies. After that, what we can do is we will write if the total enemies dot length, meaning the total number of total enemies, is equal to 0, right? And we cannot spawn, meaning can spawn is false, right? Because can spawn will be only false after we finish spawning one wave of enemy because of this. So if the total enemies is 0, that means we killed off all the enemies and we cannot spawn the next enemy. Then what will happen is your current wave will be added by 1, and then, oh shit, no, your current wave number will be added by 1. Current wave number will be added by 1. Not like that. Actually, just do this. Yeah, this will work. And then we will basically say can spawn is again true. Now after doing that, every time we kill off all the enemies, it will start the next wave. So let's hit save, let's go back to Unity. Now let's hit play, so we will spawn the first wave. I'll just kill all of them. 1, 2, both of them killed, one last enemy left. And after that we'll have to spawn 5 enemies because that's the second wave. So we spawned 5 enemies, it has stopped. Let me kill off all of them. And finally, the last wave was the boss. So it spawned the boss as well. Now what is happening here is that we just went above our total number of waves, basically, and it's giving us this error. So let's fix that as well. So if we have killed off all the enemies, right, and we cannot spawn, and the current wave number plus 1, basically, current wave number plus 1 is not equal to wave dot length, meaning the total wave until your current wave number, right, will not be equal to the total wave, meaning until we have not reached the final wave, right, we have not finished all of the waves, this will keep on spawning. If this will be equal to length, then we won't spawn anything. Now if I just do that again, and by the way, I'll just delete it from here, by the way, it'll be more easier. Yeah, done. 3 enemies gone. Now the second wave, 3, 4 and 5. Yeah, so that is also gone, and we have the boss. Once I kill it, we don't see any kind of problem here, which is great. After that, now let's set up an animation that will help us basically do the same thing. So, but before we do that, let's just put these two in a function, because we will call this function that will do these two things from our animation. So let's make a function called void spawn next wave, basically, and I will just copy this and then paste it here. Now back in Unity, click on your wave spawner and make those animation in your wave spawner. That will be way more easier. So to make our animation, first of all, we need a canvas and some text. You can make it however you like, by the way, just follow along for now. So I'm going to put in UI and a text. Right, we have a text UI now. I'm just going to press F, click on it and just remove this lock so that we can see that. Now here I'm just going to write wave name. We will set this up so that it will show us different waves according to which wave we are in. After that, let me just rename this to wave name as well. I'll just put it as 164, and I will turn on overlap on both horizontal and vertical overflow basically. Okay, I'll have a, let's see which one looks good. Okay, this one looks good. Yeah, so let me just put it on the center as well. Okay, now this is too big. The reason why is because of we are putting constant pixel size in our canvas scaler. Put it as scale with screen size. So now it will scale with the screen size. So we need to put our screen size. Mine is 16:9. That means 1600 by 900. That will give us a perfect size, as you can see. Now our first one is done. By the way, I need to change the color to kind of white. Yeah, okay, now the first one is done. So I will just make a duplicate of this and close the first one. So the duplicate will be called wave complete, and we'll write wave complete here as well. Everything else is already set up, so we don't have to worry about that. After that, I'm going to make a empty folder and just call it 3, 2, 1 and go. So let's make a duplicate of this wave complete, and let's just close this off as well. So wave complete, let's put it inside here and call it basically 3, write 3 here as well. After that 2 and 2 here as well. After that 1 and 1 here as well, and lastly we need a go. 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 Okay, now after we do that, I'm just gonna close off all of them. So let's see how it looks in our inspector, I mean in our game view. So it looks kind of fine. All right, after that go here and in our animation panel, let's click on animation, create animation, and I'm gonna put it inside a folder that I've made for animation. So the first animation will be our idle animation. So idle anim, let's just call that. And the idle animation is just for us to transition from one animation to another one. So the idle animation is done. After that we need another one called wave complete. That's the second animation. First of all, let me just set it up. So in our wave complete, what's going to happen is we will show this basically in our scene, meaning just turn it on for a while and then turn it off. Just record this, click here, then turn on at the start, and in about, I don't know, 1 second of time, turn it off. When you turn it off, you can also do one more thing. You can just make it small as well, make the size 0 as well. What's going to happen is it will look something like this, right? We don't want it to be something like this. We just want it to be this size till here. So what we will do is we will just click here, copy that, Control C, and you have this white line here on 40, Control V, and now it will look something like this. And that is exactly what I want. So our wave complete animation is done. Let's go to our animator and let's just make a transition from our idle to wave complete. Now let's make another one, and this will be called 3, 2, 1 and go. Now here what we will do is, first of all, we will say the next wave name. So we will turn that on. So let me just record it, turn it on, and so the next wave name, and it will go on for like a second basically, right? Then turn it off. Next wave name, let me do something like, I don't know, let's make it small as well, just like the before one. Okay, wave complete. After we have closed this, turn on 3 basically, turn on 3 and go to another 2-second mark, then turn off 3, turn on 2, go to 3-second mark, turn it off, turn 2 off, then turn on 1, go to about, I don't know, where is it, 4-second mark, turn this guy off, then turn go on, and finally in about a 30-second timer, turn this off as well. So your animation will look something like this. Wave name 3, 2, 1, go. It'll look something like this. So now in the animator, let's just make a transition from this, and then after we finish this animation, we'll basically go back to normal. Now we need something that will help us transition from this to this animation. So for that we need a parameter. Let's call it trigger, and let's just call it wave complete. So whenever the wave complete is triggered, we will go from idle to wave complete. Now for going to idle to wave complete, we don't need any exit time, and we don't need any exit duration as well. But for here, from going from wave complete to 3, 2, 1, go, we need an exit time, which will be, we'll play the whole animation, so 1, but we don't need an exit duration, so 0. Do the same here as well. And now our animation is done. So what will happen when you're idle, once you kill all of the enemy, it will say wave complete, then wave complete turns off, and 3, 2, 1, go. Now finally what we will do is in here, in our 3, 2, 1, go, at the last point, just make an event, add an event, and this event will find all the functions in our script basically. So in this event you will see your spawn next wave function. Click on that. So what's going to happen is after we end this animation, we will start spawning the next wave. Now let's just go here and first of all make a reference to the animator, which is inside here now. Once we make the animation, it will have an animator inside our wave spawner. So let's make a reference to the animator. Here, down here, just write public. Let's do it here. So public animator, and let's just call it animator. After that, we want to show which wave we are going to go to, right? So for that, we will basically make a reference to this wave name that we made right here. So for that, let's just make a public text, and we need, for this to work, we need a reference to the Unity engine.ui. In Visual Studio it does it automatically. Once I just call this, as you can see, I have Unity engine.ui, but if you don't have that, you need to write something like this. All right, and let's make a text and let's call it wave name. Let's just set it up in Unity. Let's go back, let's go here, wave spawner, and right now let me just close off all of this. Okay, right now we have two places. One has the animator, so drag and drop your animator, which will be just below your script basically, and then we have wave name, which will be our wave name. Now once we kill off all the enemies, and we have already spawned all the enemies and still some more waves are left, then first of all we will just name the next wave, give a next wave a name, right, which will be equal to our wave name of that next wave. So that is how we're going to do that, and how we are going to write that is by writing wave name dot text is equal to waves, and inside we are going to write current wave and do a +1 and dot wave name. Sorry, not current wave, I just mistakenly wrote that. We need to write current wave number. So current wave number +1 dot wave name. What's going to happen is it will just give us the next wave's wave name and put it inside our own wave name, this guy right here in the wave name. So after that we will call the animation. So animator dot set trigger, and the trigger we are going to set is going to be a wave complete. Now after doing that, if we just hit play here, so we will spawn the first wave of enemies. As you can see, spawning the first wave of enemies, which is awesome. Let me just kill off all of them, and we'll say wave complete, wave 2, 3, 2, 1, go. But this happens, but it is still working. The reason why that is happening is a small problem, and because of that all of these get spawned all at once. But as you can see, it is working, as well as it showed us the next wave name, right? How we did that is just it took this value and added it into this value basically. So if you want to see that work again, let me just change this to something else, which will be maybe skadoodle. So if I just hit play, kill off all the enemies from the first wave. So yeah, I just kill off all of them. Wave complete, skadoodle, 3, 2, 1, and go. It will say that again. Yeah, there's still a problem. Now the problem is that once we actually do this, there is no way of stopping this. This if statement keeps on running until you go to the next wave, right? But until then, this function has already been called about 2 times, giving us that. So that is why it's not working. So instead of this can spawn, right, let's just remove it for now. We need another boolean called private bool, and let's say can animate. So can can animate, and from the start it will be false. We'll only be able to animate once we first spawn the first wave. So here can animate will be true. Now if the total enemy is 0 and we still have more waves to spawn, as well as can animate is equal to true, then we will spawn the enemy. And once we do that, after that we will say can animate is equal to false. Now we are almost done, by the way. Everything is almost done, because if you see here, mostly all of them is done. You will see. So first of all, let me just kill it off from here. 1, 2, and 3. Wave complete. Skadoodle. Okay, I have to change that, by the way. 3, 2, 1, go, and we spawn the next wave. Let me just kill off them as well. And okay, okay, wave complete. Final wave. 3, 2, 1, go, and we will spawn the boss. Where the hell is he? Okay, the boss. So once we kill off all of that, now finally we want something to happen. After we kill off all of the enemies, that means all the waves are finished, we want to say something like wave complete, something like that, right? So let's go back in Unity and let's set it up here. So what we need to do is, if I just write here else, so else if these conditions are not met, we can write debug.log and let's just say game finish. Now if I just do this, what's going to happen is, the moment any one of this will not be true, right, any one of these conditions will not be true, what's going to happen is it will say game has finished and will start saying from the start. See, it keeps on saying it. So what we need to do is, we need to first of all, if we kill off all the enemies, we have to kill off all the enemies to trigger this as well as this. So let's put it inside here. So let's make another if statement, and let me just drag and drop these guys here, and inside here let's just copy this, cut this and paste it here, and inside here cut this, then paste it here. But still it will be a problem, because if either of these will not be true, then it will directly go here, right? So one last thing I have to do is now write another if statement and just copy this guy down here, and after that let's just cut this and paste it here. Okay, now what's going to happen is, if we have killed all the enemies and we don't have any more waves to spawn, right, then game is over, game finish. You should put something here like some kind of a UI that will help us go to the next level, or maybe your whole game is finished, something like that. But for now I'm just gonna print game finish, and with that done, our whole wave spawning system is done, which is awesome. So one last time I'm just gonna play with this. So we have our first 3 enemy. I'm gonna kill off all of them. 2 and 3, wave complete. I have to change that, by the way. 3, 2, 1, go. The second wave, which will be 5 enemies, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, wave complete. Final wave, 3, 2, 1, go. And we have our boss. Okay, once I kill that, as you can see here, game is finished, which is awesome. So thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. If this video was too long, I'm really sorry. My explaining, I think it went really long. But hey, if you like the video, please hit the like button. Subscribe. Can we reach 1,000 subscribers? That would be awesome. With that said, you can download this project. Basically, I'm just gonna put this all in my itch.io page, and please follow me there as well. I keep on updating these asset bundles every time I make a new video, so please do follow me there as well. And with that said, again, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. Like, share and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye bye.